That's me. That's me.
Are we good? Yes, we are. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the Standing Policy Committee, the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee meeting. And to commence this afternoon's discussions, we'll start off with a reconciliation statement. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pay respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The City of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta. All right, start with the consent agenda. Oh, sure, roll call. I'm here, I know that. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Here.
Acting Mayor Campbell.
Present.
Councillor Middleton Hope.
Present.
Councillor Parker.
Here.
In addition, other members of council in attendance are Councillor Carlson and Councillor Croson. Quorum is established.
I think that would be Mr. Carlson this afternoon, yeah. Excellent, so the consent agenda. And I'm wondering if my colleagues have had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda, and are there any alterations, additions, deletions?
You want to do the agenda first?
No, let's.
Then consent.
Wow, okay, well then I guess we'll do the adoption of the agenda. He's trying to make things a little bit less complicated. However, that rarely occurs. The adoption of the agenda. Councillor Parker. Be it resolved that the agenda of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee, further be it resolved that the status of initiatives for June 20th, 2024 be received as information. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
If none of my colleagues have any changes, questions, or comments on the consent agenda, I will call for the vote.
Seeing none, vote's been called. All in favor? Thank you. Now can we get to presentations? And now this afternoon, without further delay, Green Acres Foundation, Ms. Donna Kozlovi, and Chair Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you want us to stand, sit? Does it matter?
I understand that you require some repast this afternoon, so please.
If I may sit, that would be appreciated.
By all means.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of committee and administration, hangers on. Pleasure to be here today. Thank you for honoring our request to sort of present our report to the community. One of the strategic pillars of the foundation is to build better partnerships and continue our partnerships, and our member municipalities are one of our stronger partners. So we always want to take the time to sort of connect when we can and to highlight the work we've done. Our CEO, I think you all know Ms. Kozlovi, will be making the presentation today. Before we do, I just want to thank you for some of your ongoing support for some of our efforts at advocacy around the province, and the appointment of Councillor Parker and Mayor Higgin to the foundation board. Councillor Parker sits on our finance committee, and Mayor Higgin has been invaluable in getting some of our advocacy efforts moving forward. So thank you for that. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ms. Kozlovi. The good news is our presentation should be shortish. And the better news is we're not asking for anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for allowing us to come here to address the council. I think it's very important for Green Acres, because we are such a strong pillar of this community, that you need to know what we're all about. You need to know what we're going to be doing, what we have done, and maybe to answer any kind of questions. So we've done a short presentation because I know you've already had the report to the community, and we're certainly welcome to we will answer any of your questions. But just to let you know, we've been around since 1960, so we're old, okay? We're an old established organization. We're a not-for-profit organization that provides housing and services for senior citizens. That's not to say that we only do senior citizens, but that is the majority of our clientele. We offer a number of different services. We have different varying levels of housing and varying levels of services. Our board also feels very strongly that we have to be good pillars of the community. So they have always tried to get Green Acres to be an important part of this community and the other communities in which we serve. We are affordable. That's our pillar. We like to say that we have the best places, but the lowest prices. So we think that's really good. The other thing that we do offer is security. And in today's world, today's world is changing. And for seniors, security is such an important thing. They need to feel secure. A lot of our residents, as people age, they get a little bit more frightened, I guess. So we need to ensure that they feel safe and secure within their environment. And very important are the activities and excursions that we offer our people. For many lone seniors that are living on their own, social isolation has a detrimental effect on their health. So when they move in with us, they get to be part of all sorts of activities. So we have a bunch of different housing options. Some people don't know that we have apartments. We have apartments where people can do their own cooking. They take care of everything. The only thing is we take care of the outside work for them, snow removal, landscaping and all those kind of things. But they do their own cooking and cleaning. Then we have housing with services. We can either have a choice of full services, that's the full meal deal, we do all their meals, their housekeeping and all those kind of things, or they can have partial services, where they'll have one main meal, they can opt in for other meals if they want, or they can have housekeeping, or they don't have to have housekeeping, so it's kind of up to them. And then we also have housing with care. And one thing that we're very proud of is Green Acres was the first in the province. Back in 1999, we saw a need that there was only lodges and then there was long-term care. So if a senior got to the point where they might need a little bit of more personal care, perhaps they needed help ambulating to go to the bathroom. And that's something you can't really schedule. You can't just say, 10, 2, and 6. So we got together with Chinook Health Region, and we were the first in the province to have a lodge with, we call them enhanced lodges, but we had an agreement with Alberta Health Services. They provide the funding so that we can hire healthcare aides. And so the seniors could stay in the lodges rather than going to a long-term care facility. And now you'll see that every city you go to, any place you go to in the province now, they have designated supportive living. And it started here in Lethbridge, well, in Pitcher Butte, actually, but it started with Green Acres, okay? And then we also have housing with memory care. Important in our rural sites, I know you folks are more interested in Lethbridge, but we also have rural sites, and it's really important out there because we have every level of care in the rurals. So the people that live in, let's say, Pitcher Butte, they don't have to ever really leave. We can, when they shut down that hospital, the long-term care, we took every one of those residents and they moved into our SL4 facility, and we can handle it. So that's really important. They can age in their community, they don't have to move on. And we also have pet-friendly locations, which is, again, very important for seniors. If they've had a pet for a long time, very hard for them to give up the pet. But I will tell you, when the pets come in, that pet, those pets become the facility pet because they get shared with everybody, So I think that's really, really important. So just some fun facts. Last year we had 13 people over 100 years old. The oldest one was 105. That's not her. She was only 103. So she was a youngster, okay? Spring chicken, okay? And every year we do an annual satisfaction survey for our residents. So that gives them the opportunity to tell us what they really think, gives us the opportunity and get ideas from them. We ask them for ideas, suggestions. Very important for us, do they feel safe and secure? And you can see by the numbers, are they satisfied with the cleanliness? Are they satisfied with staff? That one usually is always really, really high. And do they feel at home? I will tell you, we didn't put it on there, the food. The food is always one that's, we get a lot of comments. Too much fish, not enough fish. Too much carrots, not enough carrots. But the food themselves, we always get very high numbers on the satisfaction. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry, going backwards. And then we also do a staff survey every year. Again, we want to know what they think. We get ideas from them. And a lot of people don't know how big we are. Last year, we averaged about 378 employees. We usually sit around the 400 to 420 mark. So that's quite a few employees. Our staff costs last year were almost 18 million, making it the biggest expense, of course. And we count on volunteers. We really, really need our volunteers because they bring outside influence. They bring a different person for the residents to talk with and stuff like this. So, and I think it's a win-win. It's a win for the volunteer themselves, but it's also a win for the residents. So we believe in alliances and partnerships. The board has really made it very clear that they do want to be a good corporate citizen. So I've kind of listed some of the ones that we do in Lethbridge here. Every year we have a Beef on a Bun fundraiser for the Westminster Elementary School. And since 2004, until this year, we had given over $32,000 to that school. Last year, we raised $6,000, and this year, we raised around $5,200. So that's a lot of books for those little guys over there. So I think that was really good. We participate in things like Anti-Bullying Day. We also participate in Elder Abuse Awareness Day, things like this. Terry Fox, or the Silver Fox campaign, we always go into the race. Ours is more of a walk, but we do the Silver Fox walk. And we participate in Big Brothers and Big Sisters. We're a big supporter of them. And then every year, we take one of our buses and we have the Feed the Bus campaign. So last year, we raised nearly $5,000 in food and another $1,300 in donations. So, and then the residents also help us out with that. So some of the successes, last year was the 5th year in a row that we were voted best of the best in seniors housing for Lethbridge. We have a very successful golf tournament. We're one of the few golf tournaments that always sells out, and we're just very lucky. We have very, very good support. That money is not used for Green Acres operations. That money is used for the extras for the residents. That's where we buy the buses. That's how we bought the bikes, the tandem bikes, things like that, patio equipment, exercise equipment, things that are strictly for the residents. Last year, we also celebrated Blue Sky Lodge's 50th anniversary, and we were fortunate that the minister came down and helped plant a tree. The resident and myself and Jeff kind of looked like midgets there. We looked like children there compared to everyone else. But that was a nice event. And then our e-bike launch. That one there has really gone over very well, and this is where we can really use volunteers. If anyone wants to volunteer to come and give residents a ride on an assisted bike. It does have assistance, so the residents can either pedal themselves too, or they can sit there, they can, whatever, and the driver can then either put the little electric on or not. We've been fortunate that we've had the chief out there a couple of times. He's a frequent request from the residents to come and have him take them around. So I'm going to just show you something very quickly.
I was very impressed with the bike ride. What the stability of it. It stabilizes very good. It's built very safe. That's what I was impressed with.
This grant came from our community fire use fund, and the committees makes a really tough decision every year trying to determine where to put some money. They really believed in this project because they really understood that it would have a
There's your mayor.
impact on the lives of the residents. And just seeing the joy on their faces, the smiles, the way they're laughing, and listening to them talk about how they used to ride a bike when they were young and how good they were at riding a bike. This bike is going to just bring endless hours of joy and happiness to a lot of people, and that's just a great, great thing for us to be able to do.
It went very well, very enjoyable. First time on a bike in a lot of years. A lot of fun, and it looks like it's going to be a good workout.
Felt safe on the bike. Because you got little on both sides, you got protection on both sides. Those bikes are awesome.
That lady that the mayor was taking around earlier this month, she saw the mayor and she remembered, and she's, when are you going to come and take me for another ride? So. Do I just keep hitting this, Elizabeth? We broke it. There we go. Just continuing on with our successes. We had a total of almost 6.7 in capital grants last year. We invested $1.2 million in maintenance projects because we believe that we need to maintain our facilities to the satisfaction of our residents, because there's no sense having a facility, build it, and then just let it go. So we continually upgrade our facilities. This is one that would be an interest to you. Green Acres has been always very proactive, and last year we put the final touches. We bought some land at the West Crossings Core in West Lethbridge, and it's directly north of the No Frills Mall there, and for future growth. So Green Acres has land now available south, north, and west. So we're perfectly primed for the city. As the growth, we can, if the growth happens in the north, we have land. If the growth happens in the south, we have land, and in the west side. So we want to always be proactive. We also purchased a 6-unit apartment building in Barons. Not a huge one, but for Barons, I mean, yeah. And the other success is our Abbey Road Terrace project. This is an old convent that we purchased, and we renovated the existing building into 15 apartment buildings for seniors. And then in another week, next week, I guess, the second phase, people will be moving in for another further 10 units there. And these are affordable. So we have to keep that in mind. So we're really quite proud of that Abbey Road Terrace. It's we've got an awful long wait list, and we are full. So we know that that's the direction that we do need to keep going. There is a need for affordable apartments in this city, and we hope that we will be part of help fill that need in the future. One of the things that you folks might, I don't know if you ever get questions on, is people about the requisition. And I want to tell you folks that we get so few calls. We get less than 5 calls. I don't even know if we got a call last year from a citizen asking what this is. Okay, so the requisition, we're very fortunate in this province that this government way back, decided to have a lodge program for this province. So every property owner in the province pays to a housing management body like Green Acres to house seniors so that we can keep it affordable. So what does that requisition do? I think a lot of municipalities think, wow, there's we're collecting an awful lot. The cities, I got to tell you, the city does pay the most, the biggest portion of the total requisition. It's over 70%, but you have the largest tax base also. But out of that, it's about 7% of our total revenue. So most of our revenues do come from rents. Okay, so just so that you know, and we really appreciate the fact that you put it right on the tax base, that it's Green Acres Foundation, because some municipalities don't do that. And, we want to be able to proudly say, yeah, we're here to provide affordable housing for seniors. So with that, we're open for questions.
It looks like Councillor, that would be Acting Mayor Campbell.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. It's a good news story here. I just wanted to, I was curious about vacancy rates. And geographically in the city, are there some areas, east, west, wherever, that are prone to having more vacancies than others? And then and then the next question I want to get into is how accessible or how easy is it for a senior once they decide they've got to get somewhere, that process between I think I need to get somewhere and then I'm here. So take us through those two questions if you could.
And thank you, Acting Mayor Campbell. It's a hard question to answer without breaking it down into different areas, because we, as Ms. Kozlovi said, we have different services. Our apartments and our cottages, those types of facilities are always full. In fact, wait lists, which is why we've been moving forward with Abbey Road Terrace, and we've got some other plans, because it seems to be the need. I don't think it's any surprise to any member of City Council that we're in a bit of a housing crisis. And I think affordable seniors apartments are top of the list for us. And then with our other services we offer, it depends facility by facility. Pemmican, which is right off Scenic Drive by the Galt Museum. I think it's 97, 98, 99. It's very full. It's one of our most full. The two that we'll talk about in the rural areas or in the outlying areas, Coaldale is Sunny South. It's always full and has waiting lists. Same with Piami Lodge in Picture Butte. Throughout the city, we've got several different facilities, and the vacancy rates all vary, which is why but the needs of seniors are changing, and not just the needs, the desires. And so we've renovated several of our lodges. We've taken, say in Garden View, we've taken it's the East Wing. Thank you. East Wing, we've taken 2 suites, renovated them, made them into one. So they're larger sort of apartment style living, and those seem to be very popular. So the needs are changing. So vacancy rates, they vary all over the place, but we're always very, very well utilized. Don, if you want to talk about the intake program, again, it's for different portfolios.
To answer your question, what would happen if you really wanted to come in now? Depending on what you want, we can always house people except in the apartments because there's such a long wait list. So we try to get people to, don't wait till the last minute. We also have wait lists in the lodge portfolio, but we're a little bit different in that people put themselves on a wait list, but they want to be on the wait list just in case. So it's when they determine that, okay, now is the time, then we can pretty well assist them fairly fast, okay? We have some that are very, very deeply subsidized, some lodges, so we can house anyone from different income levels also.
And is there a kind of a medium wait list time that you can, I guess it all depends too. Is it 5 months, 6 months? My mother needs to go in tomorrow, that sort of a thing.
Again, it all depends. The apartments are tough because, we've got limited spaces. But the lodges, as Donna said, Ms. Kozlovi said, immediately. If Acting Mayor Campbell phoned me and said, I need to go in a lodge, well, you wouldn't phone me, you'd phone Donna. I got nothing to do with it. We could, I'd help you mow, I get a truck. We could put you in tomorrow, but it won't be your choice of place. Say, Councillor Carlson wants to move in tomorrow, but I want a south-facing view in Pemmican Lodge. It's not available. But if you are okay with a north-facing in Garden View, tomorrow. If you want to go into Blue Sky, tomorrow. So we have no shortage of vacancies right now, but people have different desires is always the challenge. But apartments, we could build another 100 units and fill them.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
And Councillor Schmidt-Rebel.
Thank you very much, Chair Middleton Hope. And thank you very much for addressing the vacancy rates, because that was actually the first question I had. To build upon what Acting Mayor Campbell had said, had to clear up Acting Deputy. Anyway. When we look at that and those wait lists, is there any work being done with other housing bodies in an effort to get some of our unhoused seniors into Green Acres housing? If there is vacancy?
I'd probably need some clarification on that, the unhoused, when you.
So if there was another housing organization that had somebody that was difficult to house in a senior's position, or was a senior, and they couldn't house them within their own management system, does Green Acres work with any of the other housing bodies out there to perhaps take that resident on into one of their facilities? Like, do we work together?
We always work together and talk together, but it would depend on the level of need and the level of care. You can probably understand, as Ms. Koslovi said, safety and security is always top of mind for our residents. And so we don't have any standalone facilities that work with supporting those folks. Those folks probably need more of the wraparound services, and we don't have any standalone at the time. It's something the board has talked about in past, but at present, no, we just don't have the ability, sadly.
Fair enough. Yep.
To add to that, where we work very closely with is AHS with their social work, okay? Because they know the person's needs, they know what their needs are, and if they're going to be appropriate. Because we also want people to be successful. If we could house a bunch of people, but if we don't have the right services for them, they're not going to be successful. So we would rather work with social work, because then they can help us understand the needs a little bit better.
If I can add to that, something that I just now realized we neglected to pat ourselves on the back for in our successes. We were just honored by the provincial government, the Minister of Seniors and Housing, for our Safe Suite initiative. And so that is a partnership with, is it the Senior Service Navigator Learn, Lethbridge Elder Abuse Resource Network. Too many acronyms. And what those folks do is they identify seniors who are in possibly financial abusive situations or other types of abuse situations, and they will connect with us, and we will find them housing, anonymous housing, obviously, and sort of set them up with those services. And in fact, quite often, the experience is so positive that they end up remaining with Green Acres housing for the rest of their time. So it's a positive. And again, it was the first in Alberta, and now first in Canada, and now the province is putting it throughout the province. They're still calling it Learn, which is the Lethbridge Elder. So I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but at least if our name stays in the title, kudos for us.
Thank you. And one other question, Chair, if I may, and then I'll hop out of the queue here. Ms. Koslovi, at the start of the presentation, you indicated that Green Acres offers other housing services, not just for seniors. Can you help me understand what some of those other housing services might be?
With a partnership with the Jack 80 Cancer Center, we also do short-term stay for those people coming from outside of this area that need to have cancer treatments. So we do those. We also have student housing. And again, if you saw about a month ago, it came on the CBC News about this new initiative with students living in seniors in Calgary, and it was such a big thing. I thought, well, we've been doing that since 2013. But we don't, it's not like we have a whole bunch, but it is a really good partnership to have some students in with the seniors, for both, for the seniors as well as the students. Because the students also help a lot with the seniors, and the seniors get something different. They can ask these students, what did you learn today? What's different, you know? We might have a retired nurse talking to a nursing student, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. And thank you for the presentation, both of you, and responding to our questions. I have a couple of comments and questions. First off, you're probably both aware, as certainly Councillor Carlson is aware, we have a program called Coffee with Council, and we've been into many of your facilities over the course of time. We've received a number of really interesting comments, feedback, one most recently, and this is I'm sorry, this is a major criticism, more steak. But other than that, they're actually really quite good. And I'm not sure he could eat it, but but anyway, yes, more steak. Ms. Kozlovi, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? We've heard about some of the really good news stories, some of the successes that you've experienced. You have challenges. You're an organization with lots of folks and lots of responsibilities. So what are some of the challenges that you're facing?
Some of the challenge, I think the number one challenge that we're having right now is we don't own all the buildings. And there's, as I said in the presentation, we want to be able to have our facilities top-notch. We want to be able to rebuild, renovate. For those buildings that we don't own, that's a challenge because we have to get the provincial government to either give us the title to it or allow us to do that. So that's one challenge. The changing demographics, but the changing health needs of residents, that is a challenge because it is changing so rapidly now. Our average age is getting up there, very up there, and the needs are different. You know, so what we're finding is especially in some of our older buildings, there is pretty well 1 and 2, every second person has a walker, probably more than that, okay? When these buildings were built, they didn't have walkers. They didn't have Cadillac walkers. They were really small. Right. Now they have Cadillacs. So we're having to adapt to that, which is a real challenge because they are living longer. So we have bathtubs in some of our places.
13 people over 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Another question would be in regards to the project over on the west side of the city, which I think all of us are certainly encouraged by. You have a fairly healthy financial position, and we're glad of that. How soon will this project over in the crossings be commenced, do you think? And will this project affect your very healthy financial position?
You want me to take it? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Timing is always fluctuating. Mm-hmm. And so it's really hard to say when, because up until this year, we've always listed at the board our top priorities. And as Ms. Kozlovi said, one of our biggest challenges is our aging facilities. We were just out in Picture Butte at Piami Lodge, and the hallways, if Minister Nixon, who you saw in that photograph, came down, his shoulders would be brushing both sides. You can't get I think when the ambulances are needed to come down, you can't get the stretchers down the hallways now. You cannot get the walkers down. So Piami Lodge out in Picture Butte is still, or at least has been till now, our top priority to rebuild because it still looks great and the residents love it and the community loves it, it's not meeting the needs as it should. However, the provincial government, I hope they're not listening. I hope they are listening. The provincial government has not been very kind in allowing us to move forward on that. As Ms. Kozlovi said, we don't own it. So we cannot just go and do whatever we want. So we're working with our partners in the province to either get ownership of that or to get the dollars from them to renovate their building. It doesn't seem to be moving forward. So I hope I'm not speaking too much out of turn because we haven't finalized our new strategic plan. It was only a month ago that we sat around and did it. But the west side property, as well as our north side property and our south side property are now looking like higher priorities. So knock on wood, sooner rather than later. Because, and it will be a different build. As Ms. Kozlovi said, the highest desire for seniors right now is apartments. But the most valuable facilities are the ones where you can move in as an apartment.
Yeah.
And then move down the hallway to a little bit more personal care, and then maybe down the hallway if you want the full service package, and then of course into different SL4, which is our dementia care. And so to have that whole spectrum would be amazing, but it's up to the board, and the board hasn't finalized those plans yet. Yes.
The other thing I just want to add to that is we're also working, we have other municipalities, it's not just Lethbridge. We have other municipalities that are also needing housing. So we're trying to work with those municipalities too. So we're going to take a look at our need for each municipality, then we can kind of determine. But you're right, we do have a healthy financial position, so, and we're thankful for that, because it doesn't mean we can only do one building, right?
Right.
We can do multiple because of that. So we're in a good position. I mean, our organization, I'm sure it's because it's so well run, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Oh, yes, I'm sure. Yeah. No, we are in a very healthy position that we can move forward when the time is right.
Excellent, thank you. What? There is. Thank you. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
No, I thought Councillor Crowson was first.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Your mic is below the horizon. Excellent. Go ahead.
I'm short, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. Certainly a lot that you are doing on behalf of the community. And you do have 3 members of council on your committee, so we have conversation back and forth. But if there is one thing from the city that you would like us to do or change, or if we could do differently, what is one thing that the city could do to make your lives easier? And Ms. Kozlovi, the question's to you because he wants to speak. No.
Only one thing?
Or more. Just because you're speaking to the city, is there something that we could do to help you out that might be within our mandate?
I'm going to just say something really quickly because it's a really small thing, but your affordable housing grant, your criteria is different than the province and the feds, which makes it for an operator, your affordability piece is different. So as an operator, I have to think, okay, we got a provincial grant and I've got to be affordable based on this. I got a city grant and it's going to be different. The Fed and the province are both the same. And that's something, it's just a little thing. I mean, we can work around it, but if you want
I see Ms. Kleisinger's making a note right now, so don't worry, we've taken note of that.
Okay. You know what? The other thing, what the city could do is work with us. We're not going to, we as a whole community have to work together to determine what is needed, okay? And that's why I said before, we're talking to other municipalities too, because there's nothing worse than an operator coming in there saying, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We got to find out from the municipality, what do you need? Let's work together, and then we can determine what you could do. I mean, maybe, if we do some of these a building, let's say at the crossings, we may be coming back. Of course, we'd apply for a grant, but then we might be asking for other things. Are there other things that the city could do? Because it's a benefit to both the city and for Green Acres. And the winners are the people that get to have these affordable housing places. So, and that's what I'm saying to the other municipalities too. They might not be able to come with big grants or anything else like this, but development permit waivers, taxes now is that's a moot point anymore, isn't it? Isn't that nice? But things like that, right? Waivers, that really helps us to get the process moving and moving quickly.
You noted that you're having conversations with the province that you would like to own those buildings or move things along faster. Is there any other municipality that has found the magic bullet, or is this something that we're sharing across the province? Same issues? Is this advocacy we should be taking to Alberta municipalities? What would you see there? Is there a role for the city in helping you move that ahead, either on our own or with a larger community?
That's actually a very good point. I never thought of Alberta municipalities because it is not just in Lethbridge. I know that in the smaller municipalities, some of them don't want to have ownership. It's too much of a financial burden. But we certainly would like to have ownership. Like the Coaldale program, the facility out there, we put in $6 million, around $6 million, because we put an addition there. with the province saying, yeah, once it's all done, you'll get title. Change of government, we didn't get title. So we're still going after that one. So yeah, that's something that, yes, it could be taken to Alberta municipalities, because it gives us the leverage. If we have title, that then we can take our so much money that we have in reserves, but we can use buildings also for collateral. Makes a huge difference.
So if Councillor Carlson wants to work on a resolution with me for Alberta municipalities, at least to look into it.
And that would be lovely. One of the challenges is, Councillor Crowson, is that the province has said all the things that they want to divest of it. They want, and so we're very unclear of why they're not. Because, yeah, we, especially if I use our case out at in Picture Butte, Piami Lodge, we have ticked all the boxes. In fact, we would be the golden child of their strategic plan. And so we're not sure why. And we're very fortunate to actually, MLA Neudorf is actually working with us and trying to find those answers for us. Because, yeah, it's not like we're doing something they don't want. They've said in black and white they want. I think one of the challenges we face is that, and I'm speaking rather bluntly, seniors housing is not sexy and it's not top of mind right now. Supportive housing, houselessness, those types of issues are top of mind. And so, yeah, if we're in fact going up to, we're dragging the mayor along with us. We're heading up to the Premier's Pancake Breakfast at the Stampede to do some advocacy work, because, yeah, we're not a squeaky wheel. We're not broken. We do good maintenance on our buildings, and so it's hard for us to access funding.
Because seniors are happy.
Yeah, and the seniors are happy. So, but anytime we can get a more of a letter writing campaign. We met with the county this morning and they are on board as well. They said, yep, if you need us to write some letters, we're in. So it will be something we can talk about. Thank you.
And next week, governance SBC agenda's not out yet, but I know Mr. Lewington's going to be coming to talk about Team Lethbridge. So there may be something there, of course. I'm sure you guys tie in there, but we may be looking at some other options as well to help. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You ready? Okay.
Thank you, Chair Middleton Hope. And thank you both for coming here. Thank you for answering all our questions. I do want to thank you for providing the committee with the audited financial statements. That was my request, so I certainly appreciate that you submitted those to us. One question I do have out of those audited financials, as well as requisition from the city, understanding, Ms. Kozlovi, like you said, you only get a few phone calls a year. Right around tax time, I get a few more phone calls, and maybe it's the demographic I'm working with that doesn't quite understand the importance of seniors housing in our community, because they're not quite there yet. And like Councillor Carlson says, it's not sexy and it's not top of mind. How does last year's requisition compare to what you received this year? Are we seeing that incremental increase for you so that you're able to fulfill your needs? Understanding that affordability is a problem, you would be voicing that affordability too. Are we seeing that increment in an appropriate increment in those requisitions?
I think the board, through our administration, has taken a very measured approach to the requisition in that we try and collect around the same percentage every year, which, as Chair Middleton Hope said, has helped us build up a capital reserve. And that's what we can then expand our facilities with. So other municipalities have been faced with things where they don't do a sort of set requisition every year, and then one year they said, we need $30 million, and that's just not going to fly. So I think the board has been fairly consistent in doing an appropriate amount, but not an exorbitant amount in one fell swoop. If we had to build a $30 million facility on the west side, it'd be a big hit on the tax bill. One thing I will say, and I do this as Councillor Carlson, if anyone ever phones me about the Green Acres requisition, I give them her number. It's the same way if the school board or if the school tax requisition, I got a call about that, I would say, I have the number for you to call, and that's the one.
But we are requisitioning an appropriate amount then to fulfill those affordability concerns that we're hearing across the board?
I would say definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add, I just want to add one more thing. Again, because of our size and just because of our operations, unlike other municipalities where their requisition has to pay off their deficit, it pays for their operating expenses. We are such that we are quite self-sustaining. Okay, so most of our requisition, if not all of it, goes towards our reserve so that we can build for our tomorrows. And that's our goal.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, we have another question from Councillor Parker.
Thank you. And just, I think I know the answer, but I think it should be noted. Ms. Kozlovi, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Carlson, for your presentation. My question to you folks is it true that we work with AHS and when people have surgery or when there's a shortage of rooms within the hospital, we do fill a void? Am I correct on that? Maybe you can explain that a little more.
Sure. Again, we always like to think outside the box, okay? So we've recently, last couple of years, it was during the COVID times, when someone goes into the hospital, let's say they get a hip replacement, so they're taking up an acute care bed to convalesce. Very expensive acute care bed. So we made an agreement with AHS, because we already have the nurses in some of our sites, we have HCAs, we have what we call community transition, I had to think there, transition beds. So the person, because they have to be medically stable, but then they can convalesce there. So there's kind of like an extension of the hospital. They don't pay because it's an extension of the hospital. So we have an agreement with AHS. So AHS pays for their stay while they're convalescing. And it works out very, very well.
It is a great news story, so I think the community should know that, and that's why we have this public forum. Another thing, when you're talking about when people have concerns or ideas, complaints, we direct them to our CAO, which is the appropriate thing, which is quite different because we are members on the board, and most of us are elected officials on the board. But is it true that we're actually accountable to the Minister of Senior and Housing? That's who actually, as board members, we answer to that ministerial order. Is that correct? So maybe you could just say yes.
Yes, that is correct, and that's why before when our chair was introduced as Councillor Carlson, yeah, because he is Chair Carlson. He's Green Acres Chair. He happens to be a councillor also, but when he's around our board table, he is directly responsible for Green Acres Foundation. We are not a committee of council.
Yeah,
and we're totally separate.
That's good. Just wanted, I knew that, but I think it's important that the community knows that as well. Thank you.
And a half-decent singer. Green Acres, yes. Thank you very much. 2 points. The video that was presented earlier will actually be posted on the city's website after this meeting is concluded. And I also have a motion from Acting Mayor Campbell, Green Acres Foundation 2023 report to the community. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee receive the Green Acres Foundation 2023 report to the community as information. Acting Mayor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just thank you for the presentation. It's, again, a good news story here today. It's nice to see the history, the historical significance of what the Green Acres Foundation has done and how it's started. And you're the pioneers of all of this, and to see that it's continuing on. And there's so much more that we're going to continue on and provide for seniors. So I thank you for that. Unless there's any other questions from my colleagues, I'll ask for the vote.
Question has been called. All in favor? Thank you. And thank you again.
Did we stretch it out long enough?
You're doing a good job. The chair is sitting back there saying thank you, thank you. All right. Next we have Ms. Bracken.
Yeah, but it's a submission.
Pardon?
It's a submission, but there is a video, so
agenda, so maybe what I
I'll
would
just
do is-
ask her to come forward.
What I would do is do the resolution first.
Okay.
But you should ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak on Green Acres.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on the previous presentation on Green Acres?
After we voted.
Yes. Just to prove that it was well done. Thank you. All right, we have another motion from Councillor Parker on the 2023 Public Art Program Annual Report. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee receive the 2023 Public Art Program Annual Report as information. And I understand, Ms. Bracken, that there is a 2-minute and 32-second video. Excellent.
Oki and welcome. My name is Katie Bruce and I work with the Public Art Program for the City of Lethbridge. I'm the Allied Arts Council's Public Art Coordinator and I'm here to talk about the projects that were completed in 2023. Throughout the year, we partnered with a number of entities, including local businesses, private entities, and City of Lethbridge departments in order to complete 11 projects. Our main large project that was completed in 2023 is Jill Ann Holt's project, Send Receive All, which takes place at the Post Office building downtown. It's a multi-component installation, including vinyl wrapping, a large art screen, and inlaid text into the cement sidewalk. In 2023, we also had an installation take place at Legacy Pavilion. The local artist that was selected for that project, Michelle Sylvester, was a mentor in projects that were completed in 2022. This large mosaic piece consists of tens of thousands of handmade ceramic tiles. In addition to a similar nature, the other 9 projects which highlighted local talent were vinyl projects. In partnership with Opportunity Lethbridge, Downtown Lethbridge also saw the addition of 4 more vinyl wrap projects located throughout Festival Square and Gull Gardens. These projects include Sikokatoke by Margie Crop-Eared Wolf in Gull Gardens, Tomatoes by Beanie Duches, Garden Party by Carla Mathercox, Symphony of Celebration by Stuart Beesbroke. We also partnered with City's Waste and Environmental Department for the completion of A Walk by the River by Sheila Shaw. Lethbridge Public Art partnered with the City's Transportation Department for the installation of 3 pieces along 13th Street. I Spy by Aaron Hagen, Nostalgia Unified YQL by Alejandro Alvarez, and A Vessel in Between Two Places We've Never Been by 9 Strew Seaboard. Supporting local artists allows the Public Art Program to work with dynamic requests from partners throughout the community. We'd like to thank all of the artists that engaged with us this year, whether they were applying to exhibitions, applying to different projects, or were ultimately selected for a project. Forthcoming in 2024, we're looking forward to seeing the installation of murals throughout downtown, Southern Lethbridge, and in West Lethbridge, as well as a number of vinyl wrap projects along 13th Street, at the Logan Boulet Arena, and at the Multicultural Center as well.
Well, thank you for that. Although the volume was a little bit low for my liking, but thank you very much for presenting that. I'm wondering if there are any questions from my colleagues. It looks like Councillor Parker is in the queue. Yes, he is. Oh, there she is. See, I can't see yours, but it's below the horizon again. Go ahead, Councillor Crossan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. And each year, of course, you are adding quite a number of projects. So can you just confirm for myself and the community, are we maintaining a list? Are we maintaining operating money for ongoing maintenance? Are we making sure it's not just we put them up and forget them, but that they are being well maintained in the future, et cetera?
Through the chair to Councillor Crossan, outlined in the public art policy is an allocation that happens to a maintenance reserve. So our policy indicates that 10% of our funding will go to that reserve. So we do have funding available. One thing that I'll highlight too that is upcoming is an update to our public art master plan. And as a part of that, we're going to do a condition assessment on a select number of pieces that have been in our collection for over 10 years. I think most of the ones that we're targeting are over 10 years old. All of that to say, yes, we very much have a plan to make sure that our pieces are well maintained. We have funding in place, and there's also language in our policy around deaccessioning if need be, and consideration for relocation if need be. In our contracts as well with our artists, we're starting to indicate terms of display as well, which will give us an opportunity at a certain point to open a dialogue with an artist about removing or relocating a piece if need be. So yeah, we do our best to keep that top of mind.
Looking at what you're planning moving ahead, you're going to be working on something that has a soft place in my heart, the planters on 13th Street North. I think a few people know that a couple of years ago, some friends and I went out in the evening, cleaned them all out, and planted fake flowers there to actually beautify them. And then, of course, the next year, the sunflowers were planted there. But now the city actually has plans for them. Can you describe what you're going to do and how you're going to actually, beautify that area of 13th Street North?
I have to say we don't actually know what we're going to do, other than what you just said. Beautify and make them something that we can celebrate instead of try to hide. This was a project that came to us this year in dialogue with the Parks Department as they'd heard some interest from the community in seeing some improvements. So we added that as a new project, as you'll see in our report. And really, it's an opportunity to highlight the beauty of public art as a process that allows for creative problem solving. So the opportunity to put this out to an artist and say, here's what we're trying to do. Here are some of the concerns or opportunities with this particular location. Now show us what's possible. And then, the committee is assembled to evaluate those opportunities and select one and make it happen from there. So.
Well, I have a group of friends who like to do guerrilla artwork and gardening, so if you want to sit down with us, we can give you some ideas.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair.
Guerrilla artwork? You aren't out of it. It's okay. Councillor Campbell. Councillor Campbell, go ahead.
Okay, anyway, thanks for the presentation. Just wanted to highlight the fact, sometimes there's a lot of criticism, especially when there's bigger art displays, that you go out and for procurement and public says, why isn't that a local artist? How come that happened? You've seen your video showing that you do involve local artists on many other things, and I just want you to tell us about that and maybe a little bit of the response that you do have in this world where there's a plethora of great artists in the city that do get an opportunity. I mean, they can still try to get the big ones, but there's also the small ones too. Just if you can address that.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Campbell, the Public Art Committee strives to provide opportunities for artists at all level of experience, from those that are just starting to share their work with the public, to those who have established, public art firms and do this as a career and a full-time practice. So yes, you're right. You can see reflected in this particular report a lot of small projects with local artists were realized in the last year. In terms of the question about, kind of from a procurement perspective, we do get that question around, why can't we limit all of our calls to local artists from people who really want to see that investment? And the answer is the same as with any city project. We do follow procurement rules, are bound by certain guidelines and treaties, but in the same way that, we are required to open up our competitions over a certain dollar amount to everyone, so is everybody else, right? Which means that our local artists then have opportunities to compete elsewhere, and then the benefit is available to them as well. I'll maybe hand this over to my colleague here, Katie Bruce, who you saw in the meeting, and I'd like to introduce you as well to her. She's taken up the mantle at the Allied Arts Council, filling in big shoes after Suzanne Lind's departure, but really doing a wonderful job as our public art coordinator. Maybe she can speak a little bit more to the investment in local artists.
I just wanted to make note that through the 2024 season of Public Art, we'll be engaging with upwards of 15 local artists. Most of those have actually already been installed along 13th Street at the Logan Boulet Arena. So we continue to sort of build capacity for these artists to then go into other communities and continue to create art.
Great. I just wanted to touch briefly, if I may, on the Buchanan collection that we have. It's sort of mentioned in the report here, and you know, such a valuable collection. Maybe just publicly explain what a wonderful collection that is and how we're maintaining it, because it's so vital. I mean, and what can you do to make sure that it's maintained well?
So the Buchanan bequest, which was a donation to the city of Lethbridge in the 60s following the death of Donald Buchanan, is stored in a location that's climate controlled and frequently checked by the Galt Museum, which has taken on oversight of that collection for the past few years. So we do our best to monitor it, make sure the conditions are appropriate for art storage, and ensure that someone's going in frequently to check it. We're in the process right now of actually evaluating the humidification system and looking at potentially adding a few sensors that would give us quick access to information if there was ever water or a problem with the humidifier. So top of mind, both for the Public Art Committee and the Galt Museum in their current role, overseeing that collection to make sure that it's well maintained.
And what about having the public an opportunity to see some of that public or that Buchanan collection, because it's really amazing. What's the plan?
Yeah, that too. We're currently in conversations with the new Galt executive director, who's just started, about kind of the future of this this relationship with the Public Art Committee and the responsibilities that they've taken on. But I know in previous conversations with their recently departed executive director, there was some interest and commitment through this internship relationship that we've established with the University of Lethbridge for doing some exhibitions of the work. Great. I think we're just caught right now in transition in leadership, so I'm not really able to speak to specifics at this point.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oh, got it. Councillor Parker.
Before you pop up that screen, it's just a sec here. So first of all, thank you very much for your presentation. I know public art has come a long way in our community, and I think I wouldn't use the word acceptance. I think people get more excited about it because it adds to the community, adds to the flavor. And one example, when we did the one out by the museum, the railroad, what was it called? There's a technical term for it. The one you see the pictures in. It's
the sculptures.
The sculpture. What? Departure. It was just the big railway. So people get pictures taken there. It's a great place. It's kind of like in Calgary, how the bridge was such a controversial, the Peace Bridge, was it the Peace Bridge? Now it's become everyone gets their wedding pictures there or do something like that, which has been a success. So do we still have a policy? And I'm just looking to the report. I don't know if I see it, that 1% of all CIP projects has to be dedicated to public art as part of that. That's still part of our policy. Am I correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Parker, yes. The language currently in our policy around the allocation states that an additional 1% of the total cost of all community services capital projects within each 4-year capital improvement program for projects at administrative resources would be allocated to public art.
Thank you. And so we travel around, we see things as members of council and as a community, and we go, wow, that is really cool. Is it okay to copy an idea? Is it okay? Is it unheard of? Like, say sometimes the best compliment is when you copy something or something like that. I have an example. I was in Red Deer, and I sent, these are, I don't know, can you scroll up a little bit at all?
They're the kind piece?
Yeah, I think you scroll up a little more. Scroll up more, I think there's more images. Right there, okay. These, I thought these were just something so simple. I don't know if you've seen these before, but they have these all throughout by the stadium or in the area there, and it's just big stones, and it's just like, they made like geese, and they're all over the place. I'm like, can we do something like that, or is it, it's not in good taste to copy, like, because I think this is really cool, really unique. Go ahead, Jillian, Ms. Brackett.
Well, I don't think it's a conversation about taste. Unfortunately, things like intellectual property and copyright come into play sometimes with pieces like this, but that's not to say we couldn't evaluate what it is that these pieces are achieving in the space and potentially create a call or an opportunity that could seek the same impact or effect. We could also reach out to the artist and see if they wanted to.
And that's what I was thinking.
Install those on a temporary or permanent basis. We've never done something like that in the past, namely because The concept of site specificity is really like a hallmark concept of public art, of good public art. So presumably those were created for that specific space. But yeah, I mean,
I just think, I thought it was so unique. I had to share it, and I thought this would be the right time to share it and all that.
They're very fun.
They're amazing. It's like, you know what, it's just kind of something, you take pictures, and I showed this to my colleagues, and they're like, where was this? So anyway, that's the answer. But, my last question, the electrical boxes, that comes under your preview as well? What we're doing is electrical boxes?
Yes, public art has initiated some projects involving electric utility boxes, and then more recently, the traffic control, the signal boxes as well.
And so are we going to continue this, or are we just doing it as a trial to get feedback, or are we going to?
Yes and yes. We have completed 2 pilot projects, which were opportunities for the committee to learn about a realm of public art that we had no previous experience with. I know we had a conversation with council about this a couple years ago. I reviewed that report, and I would say, based on a conversation we just had with the Public Art Committee at a meeting this week, what was reported to council in that report will be maintained. Essentially, that we'll contemplate moving forward projects that would be initiated and funded by public art. And then another kind of opportunity for other departments who are looking for beautification opportunities through public art. We would continue to support those. And then moving forward, looking at opportunities for the community to initiate wrapping projects. All of this dependent upon available resources, funding, and people, and to be reviewed in the context of a master plan update, which we're initiating this year.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. I have a question for you, Ms. Bracken. Damage. The Buffalo mural in particular. So repairing them, is it a challenge? Is it an ongoing challenge? Where does the funding come to manage these types of property damage that occur to some of the murals? And or the utility boxes as well?
Chair Middleton Hope, just a point of clarification, you referenced a Buffalo mural. Which one?
Well, there was one recently that was badly defaced.
Yeah, I think that one in particular is actually a downtown BRZ mural. I know we were notified about that one and provided some guidance and advice on addressing it. I'm pretty sure that one was very quickly pressure washed and the vandalism was removed. I think this goes back to Councillor Croson's, Destiny Manifesting, Katie found that one. This goes back to Councillor Croson's question as well, in that we use that maintenance reserve to address any vandalism that happens. Our pieces are not often vandalized.
Okay.
And if they are, we've been very fortunate in that it's stuff that can be removed with a simple pressure wash. I'm trying to think if there have been any other ones. We've done some relocations. But yeah, we've been fortunate in that we haven't seen a lot of damage. And that is consistent with what tends to be associated with public art, that for whatever reason, people tend to respect these pieces and not necessarily add to them in ways that would take away from what they are. And so far, like I said, that's been consistent with our experience.
That's encouraging. Thank you. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you, Chair Middleton Hope. And thank you both for coming forward. And thank you to the members of this committee for the work in creating the sense of community that public art does. The question I do have for you is that you indicated in the submission that some project timelines and budgets needed to be adjusted over this past year. Could you perhaps speak to that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just bring up the report, and I'll just reference those specifically. And this is consistent with what we've done in the past. We've only done annual reporting and work plans to council for a few years, so we're still learning the best way to do this. So what we do is at the beginning of a capital budget cycle, bring forward a work plan for that entire cycle, and then if there are any changes that need to happen, we bring them back as part of this annual reporting process. So the first one is the Ripple project or Logan Boulay Arena project, which was installed earlier this year. We've shifted our timeline for annual reporting to June to allow us to create a more beautiful video. So this again is just something new that we've tried. Previously, we've reported in January. So with that particular project, the committee did some consultation with the community around what that project would look like, where it would be installed. And the decision that was made didn't require as much budget as was originally allocated. So the committee opted to reduce that budget from $110,000 to $25,000, which would actually allow for multiple iterations of a vinyl installation on the front of that facility and on a Zamboni inside of it, as opposed to like one large external installation. And then the rest of that money was reallocated to projects as reported in that report, which I'm happy to go into if you want more detail on those. And then the other one is the 13th Street Planter project, which was mentioned there as well. And that we do have a small contingency around $40,000 right now that we were going to contribute some of that to in partnership with Parks and Cemeteries and Opportunity Lethbridge.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that update on those.
Great. Thank you very much for your presentation. Much appreciated. Is there anything else from any member of the public who would like to speak to this? Doesn't appear. Then thank you very much, both of you. Appreciate it. I'll say that to them. Yes, so the motion has been presented. Are there any questions from my colleagues on the motion? Seeing none. Councillor Parker.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the questions of my colleagues, and it's always a good news presentation, which Ms. Brackett, I greatly appreciate. It's great to see the strides we've made in our community, and I think the community's really embraced it as well. So I just ask for council's, not council, rather, this community support in sending this to council.
Thank you very much. The question has been called. All in favor? Thank you. That motion passes, although we did see some dissension down on the right side.
Through the bathroom real quick.
Great. I'm going to read the motion now. Yes. I have a motion from Councillor Campbell, Lethbridge Police Commission 2024 Annual Plan. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee accept the 2024 Annual Plan for the Lethbridge Police Commission as information. Councillor Campbell.
I guess I would open this up for my colleagues' questions.
Excellent. Great. I have a couple of questions. I wonder if, you know, yeah, I know. Although I see them at first. I will cede to Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Thornton and Chief, for being here. When you look at your 2023 budget, municipal contribution was 88%. When you look here at 2024, municipal contribution has increased to 91%. So can you inform us, when we're looking at provincial contribution, has it remained the same? Has it decreased, increased? What has happened to the provincial contribution?
Exact, it's very close to last year. The one thing about the provincial contribution, my understanding is that no matter what it is, it doesn't show up here until about November.
Okay, but the budgeted is to stay the same. They're not increasing the amount.
Very close to the same.
So that is one of the, I mean, not only did the budget from the city increase, but there is no comparative increase from the province, which is why the municipal contribution has increased by 3% in the graph.
That would be certainly one of the reasons.
Okay, thank you. I know I have some more questions, but I'll cede the floor right now. Thanks.
Yes, you have something to
add. I would like to acknowledge here that we're joined here by Chief Medicide and Inspector Lawrence, who will be able to provide...
Or Walper.
Or Walper. Yeah. Anyway,
thank you for that.
They'll be able to give you more up-to-date information than I might, given our plan was produced in the early part of this year.
Good, thank you. Acting Mayor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see Chief Mediza today, you fought off the cougar on the west side. Good. Glad to I know the story, but I just wanted to throw that at you. No, that's not my question. I just wanted to ask, in the report, you were talking about, you've got these town hall meetings that you've had. I just wanted to know how they've been received, and do you feel that it's been beneficial getting the feedback and information at those town hall meetings? Or whoever would like to answer that.
Thank you, through the chair, Councillor Campbell. Town halls, we've had 2 so far and 2 to be had after summer times. And they've been extremely successful. The great communication with the public and very supportive. Actually, a lot of times I've been sharing this with our membership that constantly the citizens are asking us the question, what are we doing to keep for the safety and well-being of our employees? And having served in many, many communities across Canada, I've never heard anyone, the public, asking that. And now they're asking. So that shows the community support for the department. And the attendance, depending on how many people come, usually we get anywhere from 30 to 70 people attending. But from my perspective, these are the town halls we're going to do for every year. And even if one citizen takes the time to attend, they are worthwhile. By the way, this is actually our 3rd. I was just telling the folks, we have 2 facility dogs, and if they're very busy, people can pet my hand right now. So that would be acting as a 3rd one.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. I have a couple of questions, and I'll simply put it to the panel group. Recruiting and retention, big issue. The city has funded substantially in terms of, as Councillor Crowson pointed out, we've continued to fund substantially to the police service. We continue to provide supports to the police service. This is an agency that is challenged just like every other agency, it seems, all across the country in regards to recruiting and retention. We've heard some very good news in regards to the recruitment campaign that is ongoing. I wonder if you would mind commenting on where we are with respect to resignations, retirements, and recruitment.
Sure. I'm going to comment on it shortly and pass it to Inspector Walper to provide you with more details on that.
Good.
So you're absolutely right. Recruiting has been a challenge for all the police services in the country. But I'm proud to say that this year for Lethbridge Police Service, we've had an epic year, and the numbers are showing. As you remember, when our budget was approved, and thanks to the council for approving that budget and giving us opportunity to actually increase our numbers, which was in a huge need to actually be increased. To be respectful to the city and taxpayers and finances, there was a plan that we weren't just going to hire, because we knew we were not going to hire everyone at the same time with the increase in numbers. There was a graduated plan. We are going to add so many people every year for the 4-year cycle to reach the number of officers that we were funded to hire. So, and again, Inspector Walker can provide you more info, but as you will hear, by the end of this year, we could potentially be actually way ahead of the curve as to the plan that we've already given the commission for recruiting. I'm just going to pass it to Jason who can provide you more info.
Sure. Thanks, Chief. Yeah, so just further to that, just to explain a little bit about our annual recruiting plan. So we have a 4-year recruiting plan, and our 4-year recruiting plan was taking us from 2023 to 2026. Our plan was based on the premise that we would need to hire 10 to 12 police officers per year, including attrition, to ensure that by the end of our 4-year budget cycle, we would be at approximately 188 funded positions, which is what the council has approved for our funding. In saying that, our attrition usually averages about 4.75 officers. I'm not sure how we get 0.75, but the math will tell us that. But 4.75 per year for attrition is what we normally see across a year-by-year basis. So in 2023, the first year of our budget cycle, we did hire 11 police officers. That was within our annual allotment that we were shooting for, which was fantastic. This year, we are on track to potentially hire 27 police officers, which will be by the end of September. So we have already hired 8 police officers who are finishing their training in the next couple weeks. We have a second recruiting class starting, which we've decided to do a couple years ago to go to 2 classes per year to push through as many as we possibly could do under our ability to do so as a smaller agency in the province. And that class right now, we have solidified 13 police officers that start July 15 that will start their training. We also have an experienced police officer class that we are going to be starting in September. As it stands right now, and if things continue the way they are going, we'll likely add another 6 to our ranks with that, bringing our total for the year to 27. I think it's also important to understand that anytime we hire a police officer, it's not like many businesses where you can start on one day and the next day they're functioning in the role and responsibilities that they do. But there is approximately 6 months of classroom training. So we are paying for those positions for 6 months before they actually hit the street and become operational, if you will. And even then, once they hit the street, they also have an additional 16 weeks of field training with a field training officer where they're not left to be solo ready, as we call it. So they're still under the guidance of a more experienced police officer, so not fully independent as that. So as you can see, that adds up to about 10 months before a police officer is absolutely independent and working in the community. So it's a long, arduous process, but it's an important process for us to ensure that we get the right people in the right positions to help our community. So that's kind of a little bit of the background of what's been happening the last 2 years. It's also important from that recruiting point to not forget about the civilian positions that we hired. So our goal in 2023 was the additional funded monies that was provided for civilian employees was to fund those civilian positions in that first year, which we had hired all but 2 by the end of 2023 and the rest in the first couple months of 2024. So that has been completed. All those civilian positions are now in place. In addition to the officers that I just mentioned, we're on pace and on target to actually be about, to be fully funded for the officers that we have. As the chief had mentioned, we were provided an allotment of additional positions throughout the budget cycle, 2 additional on top of the 7 that we discussed from previous funding. An additional, sorry if I could find my notes. I can't have it handy, of course. I think it was 7 additional for 2024, and then 6 additional for 2025, and 0 additional for 2026. So with those numbers in mind, we will be sitting actually slightly over what we're allotted for 2024 if all those hires continue by the end of this year. I think that gives you a good understanding as far as the hiring and the recruiting side of that. Retention, as far as the retention goes, Chair, I don't believe we have a retention issue at this point. We have retirements, absolutely, and I think, as the chief mentioned, we did have a retirement celebration today for one of our members. Those retirement celebrations are for employees who have served our community as police officers for over 25 years, sometimes 26, 27, 28 years. That, to me, is not a retention issue. That is a great way that we have retained our employees, and these people are leaving happy, moving on to the next phase of their life, and we're thankful that their wellness is such that they can do that. So I don't believe we really have a retention issue at this point. I think, like everybody, we want our people to be well, and we want them to move on after a successful career.
If I can just add to that, for your information too, that in as much as we are when people decide to leave either for other jobs or whatever personal reasons they may have, in the last couple of classes, we've actually had the kids of the members who are retiring joining our department, which is really happy news that they're actually still very happy with the organization, to have the trust in the organization, to have their kids as our employees and police officers. So that's actually very nice to see that we're having their kids now coming on board and joining the department.
Thank you. One point of clarification. So you talked in terms of recruitment. You've indicated that you don't believe that there's a retention problem. I would ask you to speak to the attrition that is occurring in regards to actual numbers. We hear lots about we've hired 27 people. How many people have we lost? What is our net gain in overall?
I should have had that better prepared for you this afternoon, but I can probably work that fairly good. So I believe in 2023, we had 6 retirements in 2023. So far this year, we have had 3 retirements. So in 23, we hired 11, and to be 2 of those cadets did not make their probation.
Right.
So we lost 2 there. So we had a net gain of, 9 minus 6, so a net gain of 3 in 2023 for police officers. 2024, we've had 3 retirements, including the one today thus far, and we've hired 13 and 21 with another 6 potentially for September. So 21 minus 3, so 18.
Plus 18.
Plus 18 for 24 thus far.
Just for numbers' sake, we were going through some numbers. By the end of this year, we technically should have 182 police officers based on the gradually building up to 188. And we are most likely going to be 184. So we are actually going to be 2 officers ahead of the schedule this year. Again, good news is that we've had actually a great year to hire. Bad news is now we have to start tightening our budget, because as we hire more, we certainly don't have the freedom to have that extra money. So we just, again, it's a good problem to have, but we could potentially be 2 positions over what the city has allotted for resources.
Excellent. Councillor Crowson.
Thank you again, Chair. Mr. Thornton, our chief, I'm not sure who can answer this one. But just to give you some background, when I ran for council, I was, of course, a city employee. So I had to really look into the policy of how to be an employee, but run for a political role, or to have a political perspective. So I know I had to go on leave, and I had to make sure I used no city property during my thing, and never use the email and stuff. And so I know there is a city policy. Is there a police policy on how to separate your professional life from a political life?
Questions surrounding.
My question is in general. I don't think we need to go into specifics, but my question is general. Does such a policy exist?
I'd have to defer to the chief there, who would be a little more familiar with the day-to-day operations.
Sure. For any police service, there is a policy that if a police officer wants to get involved in politics, i.e., municipal, provincial, federal, they have to leave the department. They have to have a leave of absence to be able to get into politics. So they can't be a police officer and be a politician at the same time. So those are very separate worlds. And if police officers want to get into politics, they have to have a leave of absence or leave the department. As far as any other politics go, really, what happens in people's homes and who they want to support is really up to them. It's a free country, and we have a democratic process to provide that for every citizen. But as a police officer, they cannot get involved in politics, especially political roles. They have to have a leave of absence. It's clear policy.
So following up on that again, if people want to have a political perspective, awesome. But under your policy, if you have one, they cannot use police property, they cannot use their police email, et cetera. None of that would be permissible under the policy that you currently have?
That's right. Even when during elections, if politicians come in front of our office, want to campaign, we tell them, please move on, because we don't want to have any affiliation with any politician as far as especially during election times. Again, we try to stay neutral when during elections or anything, and really at the end of the day, try to keep our job is to provide public safety, and people's political views, everything stays with them during elections, but we certainly don't approve use of any police or city equipment for anything like that.
Now, I'm sure people are aware, the question comes from the fact that there are people in the community concerned about things like this. There are people in the community concerned that, in the past, some members of the police may have done things that were inappropriate. How is the commission and the police rebuilding the trust in the community and the respect for people who may have that perspective?
If I can share that, obviously this predates me, but there's clear Police Act and regulations that speaks to misconduct, and when people have been found in violation of that, they have been disciplined, they have been sanctioned through a proper course of action. One thing that citizens need to know that as a chief of police, the highest level of sanction I can give someone is 80 hours of pay. Anything beyond that has to go to a hearing, which is really a court process with an adjudicator, presenting officer to actually present the case, and then the adjudicator or a judge can provide a sanction to that officer. And so that's the process that we have within that, if there are any acts of misconduct that have been committed. And in the last few years since I've been here, we've seen significant sanctions given to officers amounting to thousands of dollars in fines through their demotions or other ways that they've received. But again, this is all actions in a democratic society that we need to respect those processes. And give you an example, we charge people all the time, send them to court. The end result of what they get, we don't necessarily agree with all the time, but we're also reflective and respectful of the democratic process, and we just move on. So from that perspective, I can assure the citizens when there are acts of misconduct, they are investigated. Then we can have a look at the seriousness of the allegation, and from there put the proper process in place to deal with the misconduct, and we're going to be respectful of the decisions made, especially when they're out of chief's hand. When it goes to a hearing, we just have to be respectful of that process.
Thank you. And out of your hand right now is a little harder since your hand is not working very well.
In as much as one hand isn't working, I'm learning new skills with my weak hand, so that's good.
Thank you, and thank you for your answer.
Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you, Chair. As part of the submission, we received the LPS 2024 policing plan. So to you, Chief Medizadeh, we certainly understand the concerns of our downtown core. Can you speak to some of the initiatives that LPS has set out as its priorities and some of the actions that LPS has undertaken in taking care of our downtown core?
Sure. Our downtown is an extremely important part of our city, and we want to make sure people feel safe in it. So due to our resourcing issues last year, we had to actually reduce the number of officers in certain areas to have more people on the front line to respond to 911 calls. And downtown policing unit was one of those units that we had to take officers from. So that unit was reduced. But from our perspective, with the recruitment that we have that's the number one priority for us. So as new officers are back in the department or joining the teams, we are going to release employees to actually join these critical teams that we have to have more presence. Obviously, we have a CPO program that we also want to add our visibility through their presence downtown. And as you can see, in the last, we have had invested money in our downtown through, even though we don't have the full downtown unit, we've done projects in our downtown core to actually increase visibility even though if it's for a short time, but to actually show people that we are still around and present. And even those projects you have to appreciate is calling people on overtime, and there's still investment by the department to keep our downtown safer and get people to enjoy it. So thanks, Jason. Right now, with our crime CSI and crime in the downtown core, sorry, just trying to get this. Between January and March, our downtown crime stats have decreased significantly compared to 23 by 31%, I believe, for the same time last year. So we've seen some of those initiatives working, and as I mentioned, as our graduates join the teams and we increase the number on the front line, we are going to actually put back the downtown policing units members back in place so we can have even more visibility.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Looks like nothing else. Gentlemen, thank you very much for the presentation. Very much appreciated. I'll ask you to take a seat and ask the public if they have any questions or comments that they would like to make in regards to the submission. Thanks, Chair. Inspector, Chief? Seeing none.
So the resolution's been submitted. Is there any questions on the resolution?
This is my resolution. Actually, it's Campbell's. The resolution has been submitted. Are there any questions or comments in regards to the resolution itself? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Campbell, you're in a different time zone.
Well, it's my resolution.
You know, technically, it's interesting, Mr. Chairman. We started this meeting in spring, and we're going to finish it in summer.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Right. 250. We're in summer.
Yeah.
Correct. It's transitional.
How often do we do that in a committee? How long was that meeting? Well, we started in spring and we ended in summer.
It ended in summer.
Answer the last time that happened.
It really did feel like a long day.
Thank you to my colleagues. Thank you to the public. Thank you to our staff. This meeting is now adjourned.
Great job, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, really well done, John. Really well done.
He patronizes me.
Of course, he was the puppet master.